Hello everybody, my name is Chelsea with Let's Talk. Today, let's break down the third conditional. Now, this is the most confusing of all the conditionals. So let's review first and second, then we'll move on to third. The first conditional is for talking about the future consequences of something possible or realistic or, likely. This is a thing that happens sometimes. Something like, if we replace the fridge, we'll get a new oven too. So we have an if clause, we have a main clause. They're reversible. For our if clause, we use present simple tense. Our main clause uses future simple tense. If this happens, this will happen. Present simple, future simple, for something realistic, possible, likely. It's a real thing. Second conditional, though, is about the consequences, the imagined consequences of an unlikely or impossible or unrealistic event. So second, it's not real. We're just imagining. So something like, if we didn't have an oven, we would have to cook with the microwave. The truth is, we do have an oven. I'm just imagining that. Oh, if we didn't have an oven, we'd have to cook with the microwave. Yuck, bummer, nothing tasty. So this form of conditional, our if clause takes past simple. Did have, didn't have. Our main clause uses would plus the base form of the word. In this case, would have. We would have to cook with the microwave. But for both of these, we're talking about a situation in the present and what's going to happen in the future with that situation. The third conditional, we're going into the past. All right, the third conditional is about the imagined consequences of something that did not happen in the past. We're looking back at the past. This thing didn't actually happen, but we're talking about what the consequences would have been if that thing had occurred. So let's look at the verb forms here. If we had remodeled the kitchen last year. The truth is that we didn't. We didn't remodel the kitchen last year. It stayed the same. I want to think about what was the result, what was the consequence if we had remodeled the kitchen. Well, then we would have saved money on our electricity bill. If we'd remodeled, would have gotten new appliances that were more energy friendly, so we would have saved money on our electricity bill. We didn't remodel the kitchen, so we didn't save money on the electricity bill. But if we had remodeled, we would have saved. The if clause in third conditional takes, what is that tense? Had and a past participle? That's past perfect. And our main clause takes would have plus the past participle. So past perfect also uses a past participle, had plus past participle. Here it's would have plus past participle. All right, let's look at some more examples. All right, if my oven hadn't broken, I would have hosted Thanksgiving dinner. So looking at this, we've started contracting now. Would have can be contracted to would have. Would have. Would have hosted. So would have hosted or would have. Would have hosted this Thanksgiving dinner. And there's our past perfect in the negative form. Had not broken, I would have hosted. We could also contract a negative form. If my oven had worked, Mom wouldn't have made the pies. I would have made the pies. Now, when we have would not have, we write wouldn't have. But in spoken English, it kind of comes out like wouldn't have. Kind of squish it all together, wouldn't have. Mom wouldn't have made the pies. So in spoken English, you can kind of squish them all together. In written English, they should be separate words, wouldn't have. We can also use modals in our main clause as kind of a variation on would. If the storm had damaged the roof, I can say could have cost thousands. Could have or could have. I could also use may have cost thousands. It may have cost thousands. Or might. It might have cost thousands, or it might have cost thousands. We'll use these modals when we're not positive that would have happened, but it was a possibility at the time. It could have cost thousands. Maybe it would have only cost 100, but there was a possibility. It could have cost thousands. So with past perfect tense, we're using it to look back at the past. So we can use it for things that we regret, things that we wish we hadn't done. So a regret, sentence like, if I hadn't moved to New York, I would have gotten married to Ned. So looking back, if I hadn't moved to New York, I would have gotten married to Ned. But I did move to New York. I didn't marry Ned. And now looking back, oh, Ned was amazing. I wish that this hadn't happened. If I hadn't moved to New York, I would have gotten married to Ned. Oh, I regret it. We can also just use it to think about the past, to reflect on the past. Something like, if I hadn't gone to UCLA, I wouldn't have met your father. Can you hear your mom saying this? If I hadn't gone to UCLA, I wouldn't have met your father. Oh, but I did go to UCLA and I did meet your father. Oh, it's so nice. We're just reflecting on what happened in the past. All right. There's also a possibility here. So when we use third conditional, the if clause is talking about the past, right? What didn't happen in the past. If we had put in AC, air conditioning. So this is an event in the past that didn't happen. We didn't put in AC, sadly. So we could talk about a past result of this. If we had put in AC, we wouldn't have been so hot last summer. So both of my clauses here are referring to the past. If we had put in AC, we wouldn't have been so hot last summer. But we can also talk about the present result of this fake imagined past event. If we had put in AC, I wouldn't be so hot now. Right now, I feel super hot. If we'd put in AC, I wouldn't be so hot right now. So this has a present result. So we're actually using the verb form from second conditional in this case. I would not be. Would and base form. If we want to talk about the past, wouldn't have been. If we want to talk about the present, we'll use that second conditional form, would plus the base form. I wouldn't be so hot right now. So using the same if clause, this still happened in the past. I can say, I wouldn't be so hot right now. This is the current consequence of this fake imagined action. If we had put in AC, still using that past perfect form, I would not be so hot right now. So this is not would have plus the past participle. This is would plus base form. Does that sound familiar? This is the main clause formula for second conditional, because second conditional is talking about the present and the future. So we'll use that form instead of this past form. I wouldn't be so hot right now if we had put in AC. But we didn't put in AC, so I'm really hot right now. Ugh. Okay, students, that's everything about third conditional for now. In the comments, why don't you try to make a third conditional sentence? If something in your past had been different, what would have been the result? This is Chelsea telling you it's not nerdy being wordy. Let's talk again soon, folks.